was at the end of the, well, this was, yeah, after the end of the Battle of Kurukshetra. One of the warriors on the bad guy's side, named Ashvatthama, so that's Dronacharya, who was like the guru of all the Kshatriyas, of the Pandavas. He was the guru, Dronacharya. So his son's name was Ashvatthama. And Ashvatthama, they had lost the battle, but he wanted to just do one last nasty thing, just to upset the whole system and kill the last remaining member of the Kuru dynasty, which was Arjuna's grandson. So Arjuna's son's name was Abhimanyu, one of his sons, Abhimanyu. So he died in the Battle of Kurukshetra, but his wife was pregnant with Parikshit was in the womb. So he threw a very powerful weapon. The most powerful weapon in Vedic culture is called the Brahmastra. So it's like a nuclear bomb that you can send it wherever you want it to go, and it'll just find the target. Doesn't matter where the target goes, it'll just go after the target. So it's a very powerful weapon. So he threw that at Ashvatthama, who was inside his mother's womb. So his mother, Uttara, a great devotee of Krishna, she prayed, she could see it coming, she prayed to Krishna, please save her child. So it says that Krishna protected her womb so that he wasn't burnt by the Brahmastra. So, and then in due course of time, he was born, and he realized that he had been saved because he could actually see the Lord when he was in the womb. He could see the Lord coming to protect him. So, and then when he was born, imagine how grateful you would be if someone saves your life, right? So he was always looking for that person. So as Gail said, Parikshit means sees, or also you could say examining. So he was always looking for or trying to see, where is that person that saved me? I want to see him again. So he was always looking or examining, where is Krishna? Where is Krishna? Where is Krishna? His whole life he was looking for Krishna, that person that saved him from being killed in the womb of his mother. So yeah, he's a great personality, that's for sure. Very fortunate. Personally saved by Krishna. Great devotee. Okay, shall we begin our Bhagavad Gita session? We begin by offering respect to Srila Prabhupada. Om Jnanatamrandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born the darkest ignorance, and my spiritual master has kindly opened my eyes with his shining torchlight of transcendental knowledge. I therefore offer my respectful obeisances unto his lotus feet. It's quite heavy rain where I am. I hope you can hear me.
Oh, we can hear.
Okay. So we're continuing our reading of Bhagavad Gita, chapter 8, entitled Attaining the Supreme. Last week we did text number 15, but we didn't read the purport, if my memory serves me right.
Yeah.
So we can read it again and then just go into the purport, and then we'll go into 16 and do the verse of 16.
Since this temporary material world is full of miseries of birth, old age, disease, and death, naturally, he who achieved the highest perfection and attained the supreme planet, Krishna Loka, Goloka Vrindavan, does not wish to return. The supreme planet is described in Vedic literature as Avaika and Akara Pramagati. In other words, that planet is beyond our material vision, and it is inexplainable but it is highest goal, the destination for the Mahatmas, a great soul. The Mahatmas received transcendental message from the realized devotees, and thus gradually develop devotional service in Krishna consciousness and become so absorbed in transcendental service that they no longer desire elevation to any other material planet, nor do they even want to be transferred to any spiritual planet. They only want Krishna and Krishna association and nothing else. This is the highest perfection of life. This verse specifically mentioned the personalist devotee of Supreme Lord Krishna. These devotees in Krishna consciousness achieve the highest perfection of life. In the other words, they are the Supreme Soul.
Mm. Mm.
The devotee doesn't want anything, not even moksha, not even Krishna loka.
Yeah.
Only Krishna.
Yes. That's interesting. Prabhupada calls these pure devotees supreme souls. Supreme soul. We have the Supreme Personality of Godhead, right? But the devotee here is called the Supreme Soul. Normally the Supreme Soul means God, right? But here the devotee is called the Supreme Soul. Mm. And that, what do you think? What do you think that means? What that the Supreme Soul? Mm. I mean, because the Supreme Soul's God, right? But how can the devotee be called the Supreme Soul? Any idea?
Because we are part and parcel of God.
Yeah, well, everyone's part and parcel of God. Everyone's part and parcel.
Because Krishna is very dear to the devotee.
Yes, but turn that the other way around.
Yeah.
So what you just said, turn it around backwards.
Devotee is very dear to Krishna.
Yes, Supreme Soul. So from Krishna's point of view, the someone that loves Krishna with his heart and soul is the Supreme Soul. I mean, he puts them up on a pedestal. He loves them so much. He worships his devotees. Krishna, did you know that? Krishna worships his devotees?
No, I don't know that.
You didn't know that?
I mean, Krishna doesn't need to worship anyone because he's the creator.
I know that. So it's not about him needing to worship anyone, but he likes to. He likes to. I mean, if you love someone, you worship them, right?
Of course, yeah. If you
it goes both ways, you know. The lover worships his beloved, and the beloved worships the lover. You know, so it goes both ways. So the devotee worships Krishna, and Krishna worships his devotee. You know?
I think I heard a Hindu prayer or song that said, "We have Krishna in the cage of our heart. We've got him entrapped in our heart."
Yeah, yeah, that's love. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That's the devotee actually captures Krishna through his love, through his devotion. If you really love someone, they become captured by that love and they can't escape. You know, he's conquered by love. One of Krishna's names is Ajita. Ajita means he's never conquered.
Cannot conquer that.
Cannot conquer him. That means and so he has that name Ajita. Ajita, Ajita. But it's said, although he's Ajita, but he becomes Jita. Jita is the opposite meaning. If you leave the A out, it means conquered. So the Ajita, the Lord Ajita, he becomes Jita, conquered by the love of his devotee. Where do we see in Krishna's pastimes where Krishna was conquered by a devotee? Can anyone think of any examples?
Oh, when his mother tied him up.
Yeah, that's the best example. That, you know, Mother Yashoda, she's just a simple, you know, woman, not very physically strong or anything, but she ran after Krishna and she caught him, and no one else can catch Krishna. You know, there was great demons like Kaliyavana that ran after Krishna. He couldn't catch Krishna. And but little old Mother Yashoda could catch Krishna, not only caught him, but then tied him up. Tied him up with ropes. It took her a while. But finally Krishna surrendered, and then he got tied up like that. And we see, like, even in the Bhagavad Gita here, right? In the Bhagavad Gita, look at the front cover. Who's the boss? Who's the boss on the front cover? There's
Arjuna.
2 people.
Arjuna.
Why?
Because he's the chariot driver, and Arjuna is the one dictating.
Yeah, because the charioteer is a superior position to the driver. The driver's inferior position. So Krishna gave Arjuna a superior position, you know. Sometimes Radharani, what's that, Gail?
I was just going to say, what about Radha?
Oh yeah, she conquers him more than anyone else. Sometimes she gets upset with Krishna. Like if she finds out that Krishna saw another cowherd girl, another gopi, she gets a bit jealous. And then like Chandravali, and then she gets angry with Krishna. And you see pictures of Krishna where he's like sitting at her feet, like how the disciple sits at the feet of the guru. So Krishna's like sitting at Radharani's feet, like trying to pacify her. It's okay, you know, just let me off the hook, like that. So, you know, and that's because he's conquered not by force, but by love, by the love of his devotees. So from Krishna's point of view, he sees the devotee as the supreme soul, you know, just like the devotee sees Krishna as the supreme soul, but the Krishna sees the devotee as the supreme soul. And that just indicates the love that's between the Lord and his devotees, so much love between them. And it's said that of all of Krishna's transcendental qualities, of which there are 64 mentioned in the Nectar of Devotion, the best one is the quality of Bhakta Vatsalya. So Bhakta Vatsalya means he's very affectionate to his devotees. He's very affectionate. And once you feel, as a devotee, once you feel that affection coming from Krishna, you'll never go anywhere else. Never. You'd never think a devotee who feels that affection from Krishna would never go to Lord Shiva to become Lord Shiva's devotee, or Lord Brahma, or Ganesh, or Durga, or anyone, a president or a politician, or anyone would never leave Krishna to go anywhere else, because he knows that no one is more loving and affectionate to us than Krishna, like that. So there, this is indicating the love between the pure devotee and Krishna. So this verse is indicating the 2 main qualities of the material world. Not very exciting qualities. What are the 2 main qualities of the material world mentioned in this verse? Does it make you feel inspired about the material world? What are these 2 main qualities mentioned in the verse?
Temporary is one.
Yep.
And miseries.
Yeah, it's temporary and full of miseries. Not just sometimes, and not just some places, but all the time, every place.
I'm not agreeing with it. There's some good time as well. You can't see all the miseries. I mean, it's one good time of my life.
That's because you're a devotee and you're transcending that. That's why. But actually, Prabhupada explains that the happiness in the material world, what we call happiness in the material, because Prabhupada would say sometimes there's no happiness in the material world. So how could you justify saying that? Because it does seem like there is some. But Prabhupada explained that the happiness in the material world is like the gap between two bits of suffering.
Okay.
Is the gap between two bits of suffering. Like, and he gives an example of one medieval punishment where they used to tie the criminal to the board, a long board or a pole, a plank, tie the guy to a long plank and suspend him over the water. And then when they were ready to torture him, they would dunk him into the water. And just before the guy they figured out he'd suffocate, just before suffocation, they'd lift him out again. And when they lift him out, what does he do?
Start breathing fast.
Take a big breath, right? And that's like enjoyment, right? And then when he takes his breath, what do? Dunk him back in again. So Prabhupada explains that's the happiness in the material, is that coming up and taking a breath. Coming up and taking a breath. It might seem a bit pessimistic, but actually it's a fact that the main quality of the material world is there's so many sufferings, and we know there's four main ones, birth, old age, disease, and death. And then also there's three other varieties of sufferings: Adhyatmic klesha, Adhi-bhautic klesha, Adhi-daivic klesha. So Adhyatmic means the sufferings of the body and the mind, and Adhi-bhautic means sufferings from other living entities, like the mosquito bites you, the dog barks, or like that. And Adhi-daivic klesha, like now it's like torrents of rain outside, I can hardly hear anything. Things are getting drowned out and stuff like that. So there's forest fires and tsunamis and famines and different things like that, earthquakes and, natural disasters, and coming from the demigods who are in control of the material nature. By that, so we're constantly being bombarded by these things. And when you get a little bit of a break between those things, that we call that happiness. But that's not, why is saying there's no happiness? Because the real happiness for the soul is eternal, and that's called Ananda bliss. It has to be permanent. Put up your hand if you're happy with just a little bit of enjoyment every now and again. Is that what's going to fully satisfy you? Put up your hand. I just want a little bit of happiness. I don't mind 99% suffering as long as I can get a little bit. Are you happy with that? No, we want 100% enjoyment, isn't it? Now put up your hand. Do you want to be have 100% happiness?
Human nature is greedy.
We do.
Both hands.
We want, both hands. We want 100% happiness. We don't want 1% happiness. We want 100%. So that's what it means. There's no real happiness because it's not lasting. I mean, could you be happy if you had the best house in Newcastle? The best suburb, the best house in Newcastle, if the landowner told you, you can enjoy this place as much as you want for 6 months, and 6 months I'm going to kick you out. Could you be happy in those 6 months?
No.
That's why no one wants to have a rental property, right? That people want to own their own house, because there's no threat in the back of your mind, that you're going to get booted out by the landlord. So could you enjoy, you tell me, could you enjoy that you got the best property, best house, best TV, best fridge, best bed, best clothes, everything best, but within the back of your mind that you're going to get kicked out in 6 months? Could you really enjoy that 6 months?
I'll be thinking about the future.
Yeah, you're thinking about, but it's all going to end in 6 months. So that's going to disturb the happiness, isn't it? Prabhupada points
that way.
What's that?
If you're a devotee, 3 months or 6 months, you be kicked out of this planet anyway. Who cares? If you're a true devotee,
I know that. So this is not talking about the consciousness of a devotee. This is talking about the situation in the material world for a non-devotee. For a devotee, it said a devotee, it doesn't matter whether a devotee is in heaven or hell in the spiritual world. It's all the same for a devotee, because wherever a devotee is, what is he thinking about?
Krishna.
Thinking about Krishna. So if you're thinking about Krishna in the spiritual world or in the material world, it's all the same. You're just thinking about Krishna. You're not thinking about the weather, you know, if you're a pure devotee. You're not thinking about what your neighbor did to you, what your parents did to you, what your partner did to you, what your body's doing to you, what your mind's doing to you. You're not thinking about any of those things. You're thinking about Krishna. And as I explained, that Prahlad said in the 7th canto, last week I was saying that he said that I'm not afraid in this material world, which is full of miseries. But he says, I'm not afraid. And then the next verse, and he's just a 5-year-old boy who's trying to be killed by his father in every possible way. Hiranyakashipu's been trying to kill him. So how the hell can he say he's not afraid? So he says that in the 2nd line of the verse, how it's possible he's not afraid. He says, Twadvirya Gayana Mahamrita Magnachitta, because my consciousness, which is actually not up here, it's in the heart, my consciousness is always absorbed in singing your glories and remembering your glories. But because of that, I'm not afraid. So basically, because he's always Krishna conscious, he's not afraid in this material world, which is a very fearful place, full of birth and death and so forth. So that's the secret. If our consciousness is always absorbed in Krishna, and Prabhupada called the whole movement that, right? It's the International Society for
God consciousness.
Even more specific than that.
Krishna consciousness.
Consciousness.
One man actually asked Prabhupada, said, why did you call it Krishna consciousness? Why didn't you call it God consciousness? And he said, because God is not very clear. But Krishna that's very clear. Who is God? We know that God is Krishna. Like Prabhupada said, we know what God's name is. We know his address. We know where he lives. We know who his friends are. We know what he eats. We know his phone number. Do you know what Krishna's phone number is?
Yes, I know that. 9678679672.
No, it's Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna,
Mahamantra.
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. You know, so we have so much information about God, you know, so Prabhupada's giving a very detailed, you know, Krishna consciousness. That's what our consciousness or our mind, our thoughts, you know, are always absorbed in Krishna. And then it doesn't matter where you are. Then you're not conscious of the temporary things of this material world. You're not conscious of the miserable nature of the material world like that. Anyone want to say anything about that? Any comments? Any questions?
Crystal clear.
Crystal clear. And Prabhupada says in the purport, the supreme planet in the Vedic literature, hang on, the supreme planet is described in Vedic literature as Avyakta, Akshara, and Paramgati. Prabhupada actually explains what that means. After that, he says, in other words, that planet is beyond our material vision. So that's Avyakta. Avyakta means unmanifest. Unmanifest. So it means you can't see it with these material eyes. So that's the spiritual world, the spiritual planet where Krishna lives. You can't see it with these material eyes. That's why it's called Avyakta, which means unmanifest or beyond our material vision. Then it says, and it is inexplicable, Akshara. Does anyone know the English very well and know what the word inexplicable means?
I don't.
Not able to
Cannot be
Not able to
explained.
explain.
Yeah. So that's what Akshara means. And it's just so unlimited. It's so unlimited. It's beyond words, you know, beyond our explaining with our words, which are all very limited words. So it's unlimited, Akshara, far beyond our comprehension, so vast. And then Paramgati means the highest goal is the Paramgati. Gati means destination and Parama means supreme. So it's supreme destination. We might think the supreme destination is Bondi Beach or what's some other good places? I know, Gold Coast. Gold Coast, Sunshine Coast, even better. Or Bali. Some people, they went to, What's that place in Bali where they all go? There was one place where the tourists go there. There's one famous place there.
Kuta Beach.
Oh, okay. So yeah, Kukuta Beach or whatever like that. We might think that's the best.
Jagannath.
Well, yeah, Jagannath Puri. Oh, Jagannath Puri, that is the supreme destination. So
That's
yeah,
right,
but all
Bhagavad.
these other ones, they're not the supreme destination. They're also temporary and full of miseries. As we know, like we might think, wow, Hawaii, I want to go and live in Hawaii. But do you know all the problems they had in Hawaii? Was it about, what, less than a year ago? That one beach, right, it got scorched by fires. Scorched by fires in Hawaii. Such a beautiful place, beautiful beach. And all the houses got burnt on the beach and people died. So many people, they died in their cars. There's conspiracy theories about that. I shouldn't get into all that.
It's
But
Krishna mentioned, in a Krishna mentioned is a Kali Yuga will be like that. If everybody will be peaceful, then Krishna's will be like, you know, it's not truth, whatever Krishna says. So it has to be like that.
Yeah. True, true. So Prabhupada has given us that supreme destination, back home, back to Godhead. You know, he would say many times, back to Godhead. The magazine is there, back to Godhead. You know, back home, back to Godhead. Yeah. So that is the real destination. And the devotee has that in his vision, that we want to be with Krishna. Wherever Krishna is, for us, that's back to Godhead. So that's why it's mentioned, you know, even a devotee doesn't want to go to the spiritual world. He's just happy serving Krishna and Krishna consciousness. So in that way, it's said a devotee's already liberated. Even if a devotee's body is in the material world, but he's already liberated because he's with Krishna. One time Prabhupada was speaking in the temple in Los Angeles, which is a place they called New Dwarka. And it has a material street name, Watsika Avenue. But Prabhupada said, we are not in Los Angeles, we are not in Watsika Avenue, we're in the spiritual world because we're serving Krishna. You know, Krishna is there, and their devotees were serving Krishna, so they're in the spiritual world. So that's really what we want to try to do is, we don't have to change where our body is so much, we have to change where our consciousness is, you know. Well, which is better, that your body is in Vrindavan in India, where Krishna performs so many pastimes, but you're thinking about Newcastle, or your body is in Newcastle and you're thinking about Vrindavan? Which is better?
Body Newcastle, thinking about Vrindavan.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter.
Yeah. What matters is that you're thinking about the spiritual world. You're thinking about Krishna. What can you think about Krishna? His names, his qualities. Like I said, he's very affectionate to the devotees. That's a quality. His form, how beautiful. One of Krishna's names is Shyam Sundar. It means his form is very beautiful, like a blackish rain cloud. We've got plenty of them here now. Like a blackish rain cloud. And then, so we can think about his form. You know, I can think about Radha Gokulananda. I mean, I personally feel, this is my personal thought, there's no deities that comes near how beautiful Radha Gokulananda is, you know, at New Gokula. I've seen quite a few deities, but I've never seen deities that look as beautiful as Radha Gokulananda. They're so beautiful.
Yeah.
So who installed that deity, Prabhuji?
What's that?
Who installed that deity? That one?
I'm not sure. It was after Prabhupada left. They got installed after Prabhupada left. I think originally they were brought to a farm which was a smaller farm much nearer to Sydney called Colo River. Do you know where Colo River is? So that's nearer to Sydney. So they were brought there to Colo River, and then that place flooded. So once again, back to the miseries of the material world. That place was right on the bank of the Colo River, so it would flood. So they decided this is not a good place. So temporarily they moved the deities to Sydney. So they were actually in the current Sydney temple for a short period of time, or somewhere near there. I'm not sure if they were exactly there. Or I think the original temple was where the Govinda's restaurant is now. I think that used to be the temple. So I think Radha Gokulananda moved into that Govinda's restaurant for some time, which was the temple. And then they moved them out to New Gokula, where they are currently there. But yeah, very beautiful. So we can, what's that?
I was lucky enough. Someone was trying to train me on doing night dressing of the deities.
Yeah.
And I had that experience because I've always looked at them and thought how beautiful they were. Yeah. And I always thought it was the Pujaris dressing them so beautifully.
Yeah.
But then when I saw them, they undressed them.
Yeah.
And then they dressed them, and I realized, no, it's just the deities. They are so beautiful, you know. And it was a big realization because I always thought the Pujaris do such a good job, you know. These deities are always beautiful, but then you see them without anything on, and you're like, wow, it's just that the deities are so beautiful. Yeah.
That reminds me. One time we were in Jagannath Puri, and there's a beautiful deity there called Tota Gopinath. And that deity was involved with Lord Chaitanya's pastimes 500 years ago also. But anyway, we went there in the evening, and he'd had his bedclothes on. So, and real simple worship and everything. All he was wearing, this was at the nighttime Aarti before he goes to bed, was a thin white cloth wrapped around his waist. That's it. A thin white cloth wrapped around his waist. But oh my God, he was so beautiful. Oh, he was extraordinarily beautiful. You know, without even any proper clothes on, or no garlands, no jewelry, no ornaments, nothing. Oh my God, it was intoxicating. He was like so gorgeous, so beautiful. And just with a white cloth wrapped, like a gamsha wrapped around his waist. So yeah, you can think about his beautiful form, and then you're out of this world. You're out of this world. And you can think about his pastimes. We have so many pastimes to think about, you know. But only if you read Krishna book will you know. We know what to think about. Otherwise, there won't be any pastimes to think about. So in Krishna book, there's 90 chapters in Krishna book. So if you read through these 90 chapters, then you'll have some pastimes to think about. Otherwise, there won't be anything to think about, you know, like that. And there's other literatures which have more pastimes as well. There's unlimited pastimes. So this is, and Prabhupada said, Krishna book is a very important book to read. You know, it's very, because you need to know these pastimes so that you can be thinking about them. So when you're doing your, you know, when you're at the front desk of the Bhakti tree, or you're doing your naturopathy, or your accounting, or, you know, cleaning your house, or cooking, or doing gardening, or whatever you're doing, you can be thinking about
Uber.
Driving an Uber. You can be thinking about Krishna's pastimes. It's said that while the gopis, the cowherd girls, were like doing their household chores in Vrindavan, while they were doing their household chores like cleaning the floor and, you know, churning the yogurt and making butter and stuff like that, then they would be singing songs about Krishna's pastimes. Yasomati Nandana Brajabaro Nagara Gokula Ranjana Kana Gopi Paranadana Madana Manohara Gokula Ranjana Kana Amala Harina Mamiya Vilasa. Your voice is going too high. Ecstasy. You know, so yeah, Krishna's pastimes, they would be reciting these pastimes while they were churning the yogurt. They'd be singing songs. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Like that, they'd be singing songs about Krishna. Prabhupada writes, sometimes he'd be singing a song, a bhajan, in the temple room with hundreds of devotees in front of him. He'd be singing a song. In the middle of the song, he would go into ecstasy. It means he would just go into trance. And his whole body would shut down. And tears would come out of his eyes sideways. It just playing cartels. And the mid-sentence, Jaya Radha Madhava. And that's it. he'd go off into the spiritual realm, just completely in trance, absorbed in Krishna. And he'd come back sometime later and say, chant Hare Krishna. And devotees would just be spellbound. One time Prabhupada went into trance in the middle of a song, and it was complete quiet. And one devotee felt a bit uncomfortable that there was nothing happening, so he started up a kirtan, and Prabhupada came out of his trance, and all the other devotees were so upset with him that he brought Prabhupada back into this consciousness. He was so upset, and Prabhupada said, no, it doesn't matter, it's all right. I'm sorry. He apologized. I'm sorry. So he actually tried not to do that. And but sometimes he couldn't control himself, his ecstasies like that. But this is important for us, learn the process of how to absorb our consciousness in chanting Krishna's names and remembering his form and his qualities and pastimes. But the beginning of it, especially in the beginning, when we're like a neophyte, means a new devotee, trying to be a devotee. In the beginning, especially, chanting his names is important. And it said, as we can perfect more and more the chanting of Krishna's names, then slowly we will come to be able to visualize his form. And then from visualizing his form, then remembering his qualities. And then from remembering his qualities, then remembering his pastimes. So, but at the beginning is with the names. We should focus. We've got artificially, we're not going to be able to, see Krishna all the time or remember the pastimes all the time. But it will naturally happen, especially we have to start, trying to chant the Hare Krishna mantra as best as we can. But however, I'm still saying we should know what Krishna's qualities are, and they're mentioned in the Bhagavatam, they're mentioned in Chaitanya Charitamrita, they're mentioned in the Nectar of Devotion. And we should know, obviously, what Krishna looks like, and we should know, some of Krishna's pastimes, so all these things we know. But that will automatically, these things will come in the mind more and more as we get more absorbed in chanting the holy name. But chanting the holy name, that's the main part of the process.
What about meditating the material energy as well, like as a external energy of Krishna, like at your place on the rain, or on nature and things like that. Isn't that a way to sort of think about Krishna as even though it's material energy, it's still part of his energy, like.
Yeah, very good. That's brilliant. That's good that you brought that up. And so that's helping to train us also to connect everything with Krishna. And we can look at some of those verses actually. It's there's some verses that talk about that. Let's have a look in the 7th chapter. I don't think in the 7th chapter, is it? Chapter 9th chapter. 10th chapter. Now let's go to in 2 places. And let's look at the 10th chapter that talks about it there. How we can connect the dots between the things that we see around us in the material world and experience every day to Krishna. Okay, let's look at 10th chapter, text 21. You can take turns at reading these verses, so you can do one verse and pass it on to the next person. Just read the translations, no purports. Well, let's start from 20. Because, hang on, let's look at 19. Arjuna says, oh no, hang on.
Maybe 18.
No, sorry, 18. 10th chapter, text 18. Arjuna says,
Oh Janardana, again please describe in detail the mystic power of your opulence. I am never satiated in hearing about you, for the more I hear, the more I want to taste the nectar of your words.
next person.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, yes, I will tell you of my splendorous manifestations, but only of those which are prominent. O Arjuna, for my opulence is limitless, and you are the prominent. No. Yes. 20.
Gail?
Okay. I am the super soul, O Arjuna, seated in the hearts of all living entities. I am the beginning, the middle, and the end of all being.
Of the Aditas, I am Vishnu. Of lights, I am the radiant sun. Of the Maruts, I am Marichi, and among the stars, I am the moon.
Of the Vedas, I am the Samaveda. Of the demigods, I am the Indra, the king of heaven. Of the senses, I am the mind. And in living being, I am the living force, consciousness. Everything is just Krishna, then who am I? What I'm doing here? Just
Yeah,
come
keep
and
going.
be.
Keep going.
Of all
more.
the Rudras, I am Lord Shiva. Of the Yakshas and Rakshasas, I am the Lord of Wealth, Kuvera. Of the Vasus, I am Fire, Agni. And of mountains, I am Meru.
Of priests, O Arjuna, know me to be the chief, Brahaspati. Of generals, I am Karteya, and of bodies of water, I am the ocean.
Of the great sages, I am Arguru. Of vibrations, I am the transcendental Om. Of sacrifices, I am the chanting of the holy names, Japa. And of immovable things, I am the Himalayas.
Of all tree, I am the banyan tree. And of the sage among the demigods, I am Narada. Of the Gandharvas, I am Chitratha. And among perfect being, I am the sage Kapila.
Of horses, I know me to be Uchai Brasva, produced during the churning of the ocean for nectar. Of lordly elephants, I am Airasvasta, and among men, I am the monarch.
Of weapons, I am the thunderbolt. Among cows, I am the Subrati. Of causes for procreation, I am Kandapa, the god of love, and of servants, I am Vasuki. Sorry, serpents.
Of the many hooded Nagas, I am Ananta, and among the aquatic, the demigod Varuna. Of departed ancestors, I am Aryama, and among the dispensers of war, I am Yama, the lord of death.
Among the Daitya's demons, I am the devoted Prahlada. Among subdue, I am Toim. Among beasts, I am lion. And among birds, I am Garuda.
Of purifiers, I am the wind. Of the wielders of weapons, I am Rama. Of fishes, I am the shark. And of flowing rivers, I am the Ganges.
Of all creations, I'm the beginning and the end, and also the middle, O Arjuna. Of all sciences, I am the spiritual science of the self. And among logicians, I am the conclusive truth.
Of letters, I am the letter A, and among compound words, I am the dual compound. I am also inexhaustible time, and of creators, I am Brahma.
All your devouring death, and I am the generating principle of all that is yet to be. Among women, I'm fame, fortune, point, speed, memory, intelligence, steadfastness, and patience.
Of the hymns in the Samaveda, I am the Vrat Sama, and of poetry, I am the Gayatri. Of months, I am Margashriya, November to December, and of seasons, I am flower-bearing spring.
I am also the gambling of feats, and of the splendid, I am the splendor. I am victory, I am adventure, and I am the strength of the strong.
Of the descendants of Vrishni, I am Vasudeva, and of the Pandavas, I am Arjuna. Of the sages, I am Vyasa, and among great thinkers, I am Usana.
Among all means of expressing lawlessness, I am punishment, and of those who seek victory, I am the morality. Of secret things, I am silence, and of the wise, I am the wisdom.
Furthermore, O Arjuna, I am the generating seed of all existences. There is no being, moving or unmoving, that can exist without me.
Okay, let's finish there and read this purport. Deepa, you want to read that purport?
Everything has a cause, and that cause, seed of manifestation, is Krishna. Without Krishna's energy, nothing can exist. Therefore, he is called omnipotent. Without his potency, neither the movable nor immovable can exist. Whatever exists is not founded on the energy of Krishna, is called Maya.
Okay,
That
so now,
which is not here.
yeah, so now you know what Maya is.
Hmm.
Maya is thinking. It's only our thinking that there's something that's not connected to Krishna. Is there anything that exists that's not connected to Krishna?
No.
Nothing. So it's only, that's why it's called Maya's illusion. So that's an illusion in our consciousness where we're thinking that there's something that's not Krishna or not connected with Krishna's energy. So the idea is that if you realize that everything that we're perceiving is Krishna's energy, then when you see that energy should remind us of
Krishna.
Yeah, because Krishna is the source of that energy. Like, is there a way that you can know that the sun is in the sky without seeing the sun? How can you know the sun is in the sky even without seeing the sun planet in the sky?
By the look of the clock.
By the brightness of the day, by the warmth of the sun.
The sunshine. Yes, the sunshine. Yeah. So the sunshine is the energy of
Krishna.
No, energy of the sun. Well, it is, you know,
but
what you say.
Sun is eye of Krishna.
Yeah, but I'm just using this. Forget Krishna for a second. I know you can't forget Krishna, but we're just talking about the sun. How can you know the sun is there without seeing the sun? by perceiving the energy of the sun, which is the sunshine. You got it? So just like the sunshine is the energy of the sun, and that can help us to know about the sun, right? I know the sun is there because I see the sunshine. So in the same way, even if I'm not seeing Krishna, I can know Krishna is there by his energies. When we've heard about a few of them, you know, that the sun is one of Krishna's energies, and the moon is one of Krishna's energies, and the Arjuna is one of Krishna's energies, and anyone that has strength, that strength is one of Krishna's energies. Anyone that's very intelligent, that intelligence is one of Krishna's energies. So by that we can remember Krishna by connecting these energies with Krishna. The problem is that in Maya we don't connect the energy with the source of the energy. You got it? So it's like you see the sunshine, but you don't think about the sun. You're not connecting. But Krishna consciousness is when you make that connection.
So if we connect everything to Krishna, then
there's no Maya.
Then it doesn't matter what we engage in, what we do, everything we see it. How does that?
Yeah, because then you're not anymore. You're not gonna envy. You're not gonna get angry. So that's what the whole idea is to be. If you think everyone is a Krishna's energy,
well, anger is not connected with Krishna.
I mean, you're not gonna get angry.
We just said everything's connected with Krishna. How can you say you won't become angry?
How are you gonna get angry? If
there is cases where you get angry.
Because you get angry.
The whole Bhagavad Gita is Krishna's trying to make Arjuna angry. Isn't it?
He's not making us angry. He's just telling
us. You tell me, Gulshan, how it's possible to fight and kill people without being angry.
It's like Krishna say you do. That's it. There's no in between. He say you do.
No, anger is also one of Krishna's energies. And Krishna demonstrated that in the form of Nrsimha. Nrsimha got very angry with Hiranyakashipu. But his anger is pure, you know. That Nrsimhadev killed Hiranyakashipu, was it bad for Hiranyakashipu? That caused him suffering?
He got liberated.
He got liberated.
Yeah.
You know, so when Krishna displays anger, you know, the person gets liberated.
But if we display anger, nobody's liberated.
well, we have to see what is the situation. Like we know that Hanuman got angry, right? Hanuman got angry. Was that bad? Was that Maya? Was Hanuman's anger Maya?
No.
Illusion. No, because the demon Ravana stole Lord Ram's wife, Sita. So he was very angry at Ravana. And when he finally found Sita in Lanka, then he burnt half the place to the ground. When they set his tail on fire, he used that to burn the place like that. So there is legitimate, you know, causes for anger also. I mean, getting back to loving Krishna, right? If you're a devotee and you love Krishna, if someone tries to hurt Krishna, would you be happy?
No.
If someone blasphemes Krishna, criticizes Krishna, would you be happy? You can't tolerate. Imagine you're in the temple. Krishna's there in the temple, and some thieves and robbers come and they try to break the deities. What would you do? Would you be happy? Would you be peacefully sitting there? You'd be angry. If you weren't angry, I would say your love for Krishna is not very developed. If you can just peacefully, I'm Shanti, you know, peacefully watching, you know, Krishna getting hurt or a devotee getting hurt, and you don't do anything about it, then I'd say your love is not very developed at all. Actually, if you love someone, you can't tolerate any insult to them or anyone trying to hurt them or criticize them like that. You know, if someone was criticizing someone you love, would you just peacefully stand there?
not possible.
No, you either have to stop them criticizing, you know, or you have to walk away or run away, you know, or beat them to a pulp, you know, one or the other, something. Actually, it's explained in the scriptures. If someone's blaspheming the Lord, then the first thing you try to do is try to defeat them philosophically. So it means change their wrong ideas, change their bad ideas. And if you can't defeat them philosophically, you're supposed to leave that place immediately, because that's very bad for your own devotion to listen to insults about the Lord. And if you're not able to leave that place, like if they blocked you from leaving, then you're supposed to rip their tongue out. So not recommending that, ripping the tongue out. But that was in the scriptures. It means you get very angry that someone's criticizing the Lord, someone you love. I mean, we might not understand that because it means we don't really have real love, you know. But if you imagine you're like a family member, if someone started attacking your wife, your husband, or your children, or your parents, what would you do? You'd probably get pretty angry. I'd say you'd get pretty angry.
But
you know, you would.
I've got a question there. When the Krishna as the Buddha, he does not say any revenge or anything in there. If somebody spit on a Buddha, he still simply walk away. Or somebody, even if the Buddhist scriptures, you just put in the toilet and flush it, he will still smiling and just call the plumber to fix the toilet.
No, I think you just made that plumbing bit up, because they wouldn't have even had plumbing 2,500 years ago.
Like,
so
I was thinking, like, you know, when the Krishna come as a Buddha, he did not mention anything to like that.
Yeah, because if someone's insulting ourself, we are supposed to tolerate that. But I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking to get angry if someone insults, you know, us. We're not supposed to get angry at that. We should tolerate that. But we're talking about someone insults or tries to hurt someone you love. So there's a big difference. If someone gets angry at us, we should tolerate that. Gail, did you want to say something?
Yeah. Isn't it the case too that Krishna is more upset and angry at somebody criticizing his devotee than criticizing him?
Yeah. Like, I don't know if those of you that know Krishna's pastimes, there was one evil person named Shishupala.
Yeah.
And he was supposed to marry Rukmini. Rukmini's brother Rukmi had arranged his friend Shishupal to marry his sister Rukmini. But Rukmini didn't want to marry Shishupal. She wanted to marry Krishna. So she sent a message to Krishna to please come and rescue me. And I only want to marry you, nobody else. And so Krishna went there and took Rukmini away. And Shishupal was very upset, you know, and he never forgot that. And he was always wanting to kill Krishna and always insulting Krishna. It was actually destined when he was born. It was knew from his astrological chart that Krishna would be the cause of his death. So his mother, seeing his son's astrology wasn't looking so good, then she went to Krishna and said, please don't kill my son. And he said, I'll tolerate up to 99 insults. 99 insults. So then later on, at a sacrifice that Yudhisthira arranged called the Rajasuya Yagya, where he invited all the demigods and great sages and that to perform a big sacrifice to basically glorify Krishna. So Shishupal was there, Krishna was there, and Shishupal, well, in that sacrifice, the most exalted person in that assembly, you have to worship them. That's the first part of the sacrifice. You have to worship them first. So there was a big discussion as to who's the most exalted, greatest qualified person there. And the conclusion was by many that Krishna is the most greatest. He should be worshipped. And then Shishupal was very upset to hear that. And so he started criticizing Krishna like anything, 50, 51, 52, 70, 80, 90, 98, 99, and then 99, then out came the Sudarshan Chakra and zoop, off with his head. And then when he chopped his head off, it said that a soul came out of his body, and then it entered into Krishna's body. So yeah, it wasn't a bad thing that he got killed by Krishna, because actually he got liberated like that. But it just shows how, for himself, like Gail was saying, that, Krishna tolerated so much insults against himself. But there's no way he would have tolerated 99 insults to Arjuna or something like that. As soon as you, like we know the pastime in Bhagavatam where one great yogi named Durvasa, he attacked a great devotee named Ambarish. He pulled a hair out of his head and threw it on the ground, and a big demon came up, and it went towards to Ambarish to kill him. And then it dealt, the Sudarshan Chakra weapon of Krishna dealt with this demon, and then that wasn't the end of the story. Then it ran after Durvasa to get Durvasa. So he ran for his life, and he's a powerful yogi. So he went to his brother. Do you know who Durvasa's brother is? He's not a small fry. His brother is Lord Shiva. So this Durvasa yogi is a big personality. He's the brother of Lord Shiva. And you know what Shiva said to him? When he went to his brother, say, hey, brother, help me out here. My backside's getting scorched by this fiery weapon of Lord Vishnu. And you know what Lord Shiva said, the most powerful, destroyer of the universe? Shiva said, sorry, brother, I can't help you.
You made your bed, so you lie in it. Yeah.
Can't help you. So then he went to his father. You should know who his father is. If he's the brother of Lord Shiva, who's his father? Brahma. He went to Lord Brahma, the creator of the universe. Said, hey, Dad, help me out here. Save me from this weapon of Lord Vishnu. You know what his dad said? Sorry, son, I can't help you. Because you've offended the big boss. He's even the boss of Lord Brahma. So he went right, this is how powerful a yogi he was. He went right into the spiritual world, into Vaikuntha. That's how accomplished yogi he was. He went right to Lord Narayan. Who's originally sent the weapon. And he bowed down, fell down at the feet of Narayan, said, Narayan, please save me. You know what Narayan said? Sorry, I can't help you. You offended my devotee. He said, my devotee is in my heart. And I am in my devotee's heart. I do not know anyone else except for my devotee. And my devotee does not know anyone else except for me. So basically said, you stuffed up big time and you're not off the hook. But finally he gave them a way off the hook. He said, the only way you can save yourself, if you go back to my devotee, Ambarish, and you beg his forgiveness. You fall at his feet and you beg his forgiveness. Basically, you have to cry, mate. You have to cry and beg him for forgiveness. So if he forgives you, then and only then are you off the hook like that. So that just indicates, how much love is there between the Lord and his devotees, and he doesn't tolerate any insult to his devotees. So that's something we should also be careful with. Try and, be very careful not to offend, anyone, especially a devotee, even you could say an ordinary soul who is not a devotee, is still a soul, still very, part and parcel of Krishna, dear to Krishna. We shouldn't, hurt anyone's feelings or try to hurt anyone, but especially a devotee is magnified by 1,000 times more.
Again, we don't know that this ordinary person will be a great sage or a devotee. You
don't know
that.
where someone's at. You might think that's Bhakta Bozo, but Bhakta Bozo might be very dear to Krishna, and then you blew it big time if you go and slap him on the face or something, or do something not nice. You know, so we should be, and that's why Lord Chaitanya said, you know, have to be more humble than the grass, more tolerant than a tree, give all respect to others, and don't expect any respect in return. In such a state of mind, one can always chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. So that was a verse personally from Lord Chaitanya. Lord Chaitanya only has given us 8 verses, so that's one of the 8 verses. So very essential instructions. So yeah, we should always be very humble, very tolerant for ourselves, but not tolerant for others getting hurt, but tolerant for ourselves, and give all respect to others. Don't expect any respect. And then if you do that, then nothing can stop you in your devotion. And if you don't follow that, well, it probably will stop. It probably will come to an end if we don't follow that advice. So yeah, these are very, very essential things. But yeah, even anger is an energy of the Lord. One time a person was telling Prabhupada, oh, you know, about when, you know, that devotee's not going to become angry. And Prabhupada said to him, what's wrong with anger? Who said there's something wrong with anger? Because everything is Krishna's energy. But the only thing is we have to connect it with Krishna. If it's not connected with Krishna, that's Maya. But if we see it, if we use it in connection with Krishna, that's not Maya. Like I said, if you use it to protect the Lord or protect the Lord's devotee, that anger, then that's not Maya. That's Krishna consciousness. So that's the only thing. You know, we have to connect everything. So like there's one verse that says, Krishna says, I am the taste and water. So every time you drink water, you can remember Krishna. Who doesn't drink water? You tell me if there's someone that doesn't drink water. And everyone drinks water. So potentially we can all remember God, you know, we can in our daily life, when we eat something or drink something or see the sun or the moon or whatever, you know, we can all these things remember Krishna. Krishna says, I am the fragrance of the earth. I am the fragrance of the earth. Why doesn't he say I am the fragrance of the flower? Why does he say I am the fragrance of the earth?
Because all the other fragrances
comes
come.
from the earth.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
What's that?
All comes from the earth.
Yeah, where does the flower get its fragrance from? What is the flower growing in? It's growing in the earth. So actually the fragrance is coming out of the earth into the plant, into the flower, and then we smell that. So actually we can remember, Krishna says, I am the fragrance of the earth, the fragrance of the flower, like that. And that reminds me, Prabhupada said to his disciples, bring me one fragrant flower every day because it's very good for the health. Prabhupada was the original one into aromatherapy. He's the original aromatherapist, Prabhupada, knowing that the fragrance of the flowers and these things are very good for the health. They're smelling these herbs. Actually, I have this amazing herb I'm growing here. It's called Balm of Gilead. Balm of Gilead. And boy, it's intoxicating. You feel like you're on a high when you sniff that one. It's just a leaf, and you crush the leaf in your hand and give it a sniff, and you feel so good. It makes you mentally feel good. So if you're feeling a bit...
sure it's not a drug or something, you know, weed?
No, it's not marijuana. It's not marijuana.
No wonder you're
even,
so
I tell you what, even marijuana has so many health benefits.
Yes.
You know, I'm not saying we should smoke it every day, but it does have so many, like it's anti-cancer and so many things, you know, everything. And Krishna says that I am the medical herb. There's one verse in Bhagavad Gita that says that he is the medicinal herb. Yeah, because it's medicine. Actually, there's an old English saying, let food be thy medicine and medicine be thy food. You know, so all these things, God has given us all these herbs and these foods as like medicine to keep us in good health. But unfortunately, we're in so much Maya and so disconnected from Krishna and even disconnected from the earth and everything that we're not utilizing these things, which is bad, you know, causing us to have so many health problems and like that. You know, so even becoming more Krishna conscious will also help us in our physical health and our mental health as well as spiritually, like that. Anyway, how about we're nearly up with our time, but let's read the next verse. Let's read some Sanskrit. It's always good to read some Sanskrit. So 8th chapter, text 16. So I'll read one line at a time, and then you're welcome to respond if you want. Brahma bhuvana loka.
Brahma bhuvana loka.
Puna avartino arjuna.
Puna avartino arjuna.
Mamupetya tukunteya.
Mamupetya tukunteya.
Puna janma navidyate.
Punarjanma navidyate. From the highest planet in the material world down to the lowest, all are places of misery wherein repeated birth and death take place. But one who attained to my abode, O son of Kunti, never take a birth again. This is my promise.
Yeah. With a little Gulshan's tag on that verse.
That's promise.
So just in case you thought from the last verse that Krishna was only talking about this earth as a temporary place full of misery, Krishna's given you more detail with this verse, saying, sorry mate, it's every planet in the material world, from the top to the bottom, are places of misery where repeated birth and death take place. So even if you go to the heaven where Indra is suffering there from death in heaven. In heaven, they live for it 10,000 years of the demigods, and their years are different than here. One day there is 6 months here, so it's times it by 180 times. So it's 10,000 years times by 180 Earth years. That's how long they live. You might think, well, God, that sounds pretty good. I don't mind going there. But still, you still have to die at the end of that. And don't think that all that 10,000 years is all smooth sailing. There's many, if you read Bhagavatam, you'll see most of the time you hear about Indra, he's in anxiety. I hardly ever read anywhere where Indra is having a happy moment. He's always stressed because there's always some demons attacking the heaven, trying to kick him out of his big throne. And he's always in anxiety having to fight with these demons. So there's constant fights.
Deepa, if you have to live 10,000 years, how boring will be the life?
I mean, I wouldn't say boring. I mean, they've got super beautiful ladies there, and nice foods and drinks and everything like that. But it's still full of anxiety, and even one time Indra got attracted to one of those women who wasn't his own wife, which is not very good. So he got attracted to one sage's wife. And that sage cursed Indra. You're so lusty, Indra. I curse you. Your body will just be covered with genitals. So actually for some time, his body was just everywhere on his skin was just genitals hanging out. And then Indra said, oh, I'm really sorry. Can you please reduce this curse a bit? So the sage was pleased by Indra's prayers, like Gulshan's in bliss. And then the sage was pacified a bit by Indra's, submissive, and, humility and stuff. And he said, okay, I'll reduce it to eyes. So if you look at any picture of Indra's body, it's got eyes everywhere. Because also a lusty person is always looking at women.
I thought you said that they took the curse back and then taken all the genitals, and Indra said, at least give me mine back. Oh, you took mine too.
No, he would have left him with his original one. But
original one as well.
But yes, so there's still so many problems there, so many problems, so many anxieties, and never any peace, you know. So it doesn't matter, from the top to the bottom is all places of suffering like that. And but what's the good news? The good news is that if you become a devotee, and in which case, when you die, then you'll be eligible to go back to Godhead, then you're never going to come back to this suffering again. You're never going to come back, you know, so it's finished. So then it's like, it's no more situation like the 6 months in the rental house and you're kicked out, and then you do another 6 months in another place and kicked out, and then another 6 months in a place you get kicked out. No, then you've got real PR. Anytime someone talks to me about permanent residence PR, I say there's no PR in the material world. There's no permanent residence. It's all TR. We should call that TR, temporary residence. The only permanent residence PR is in the spiritual world. Then there you're a permanent resident. But there's nowhere in the material world, you know. You know, we have all these pujaris, we'd bring them in from India, and they're trying to get PR. That's their dream, is to try to get PR in Australia or New Zealand. But I say, there's no PR. You know, but they don't get it. They think, no, I just want to get PR in Australia. But mate, you're going to get kicked out.
World. That's why, materially thinking.
Yeah, materially thinking. No, I mean, that's okay to want that, but I mean, that can be one of our goals, but don't make that your highest goal. You know,
But
our highest goal is to go back to God. What's that?
Oh, if we stuff up as we did before, which is why we're here, then we can come back, no?
No, well, like I explained last week, then Krishna gives you a slight memory when you go back to the spiritual world.
Oh, yes.
Of the material world. It's like a bad dream. You know, do any of you have a slight memory of a bad dream? You might not remember the full dream, but it's just in the back of your mind that you last night you had a really terrifying dream, and that's scary, you know. So it's like that. There's just in the back of your mind in the spiritual world, Krishna Prabhupada explains, Krishna gives you a slight memory that this material world is suffering. And then you're not going to desire to come back again. You're not going to desire. You got free choice. You could come back, but it's highly unlikely. And he also gives an example. If a child has never touched a hot stove, is there a chance that they will touch it?
Yes.
It's almost certain that he will, because he wants to find out what it's like. But if the child has touched the hot stove once, what's the probability that he'll touch the hot stove a second time? It's almost zero. I mean, he might do it, but he's a complete zombie if he does. But yeah, there's a high probability of touching it the first time. But there's almost no probability of touching it the second time. Why? Because after you touched it once and you suffered, you're not going to do it again. You know, so like that. So that's how, you know, never return. So once we go home, or to our real home, back to Godhead, then there's so much happiness there forever, and not return to the material world. So that guarantee is given by the Lord in many places. In many places, he says like that. And he said that in 15 as well, in the verse we just read. So it says, never return. After attaining me, the great souls who yogas in devotion, never return to this temporary world, which is full of miseries. And then this verse, 16, says, but once one who attains my abode, O son of Kuti, never takes birth. So he said 2 times in a row, just in case you missed it the first time, just in case Gulshan was sleeping in the first verse.
If you miss the second time, go to hell.
No, but he says it, he'll say it again later on. He'll say it again later on.
Yeah, I heard the first time, Prabhuji.
You heard it the first time, okay? You didn't miss it.
Okay. Did you say once that the Earth planet's the best planet to try and go back to Godhead, because there's like the ones below there's too much suffering, and the ones above there's too much pleasure or something? Did you say that to us at one stage?
Well, look at Bhakti Mala's my best student. She remembers all these good things. Yeah. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, it's so true. And above the earth there's more material enjoyment, so it's very hard to practice bhakti if there's too much material enjoyment. And below the earth there's too much suffering. So in the hellish planets there's too much suffering. So it's more difficult. You can in both places, but it's more difficult. So the easiest place is to do it on the earth where there's a little bit of suffering and a little bit of happiness. So that's the best place. And also on this earth,
Kali Yuga is the best time.
Yeah, and then in this best place, the best time is in Kali Yuga. Best time is it because the process for getting spiritually evolved in the Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapara Yuga takes longer. It takes longer, and it's more effort, more energy required. Like in Satya Yuga, they have to do meditation in the forest for so many thousands of years. Valmiki, who composed the Ramayana, he did severe austerities in the forest for 60,000 years because his lifespan was 100,000 years. So 60,000 years. And then he realized Lord Ram. And then in Treta Yuga, you have to do big fire sacrifices and you have to know all the mantras. You know, who has memorized the whole Bhagavad Gita by heart? 700 plus verses. Who's memorized the whole Srimad Bhagavatam? 18,000 verses.
Only Prabhupada.
So like these Brahmins, they would have to know all the verses and recite them perfectly. And they need lots of ghee. We can't even afford the ghee. Who can afford to buy ghee? We can't even afford to buy it anymore. It's like $20 a kg. Like that, and you need gold plates and everything. We don't even have a gold ring, let alone a gold plate. And then in Dwapara Yuga, temple worship, and that's not easy. We can't even afford to build a fancy temple, and even if you can, it's too difficult to maintain it. The Auckland temple they built, it took about more than 25 years from beginning to end to finish that temple. And they still had a mortgage of $1 million after finally opening it. And I was
built it quicker than that.
What's that?
Taj Mahal built it quicker than that.
All right, yeah. And then I was in charge of maintaining the temple when that opened, the Auckland temple, the temple commander, and I was working my butt off trying to maintain the huge temple. And there's hardly anyone to do the work, as anyone knows from New Gokula. There's so much service and hardly anyone to do it, you know, so you have to work like an ass, you know, so it's not very easy, you know, but in Kali Yuga, it's just recommended, just chant Hare Krishna, you know, so we're given the easiest process, just chant Hare Krishna, and it's easiest and best. And just in a few short years, whatever years you have left, we don't know how much that is. I might have to chant for another 50 years, or I might have to chant for another 5 seconds. And then it's all over, you know, so, and then you go back to Godhead. So it's easy, and you don't need money, you don't need education. You could be a man or a woman, doesn't matter. You could be educated or not educated. You could be rich or poor. You could be a Hindu background or a stupid cow-killing background like me or whatever. You know, it doesn't matter. And you just chant Hare Krishna, everyone can become successful.
Still we can chant.
Yeah. So yeah, we're so lucky. We're so blessed. Actually, we're so blessed. And if we do experience some miseries, which we will, then just see it as an impetus to go further towards Krishna. Is pushing us. The suffering is actually a blessing from Krishna to push us towards him, because we're lazy, right? We're lazy about spiritual life. So what pushes us more is the suffering. And, you know, you hear about in Krishna's pastimes, like there was a forest fire twice in Krishna's pastimes. Whenever there was a forest fire, what did the devotees do? Krishna, save us, Krishna, save us, Krishna. You know, so whenever a devotee is experiencing some suffering and difficulty, what does the devotee do? Call out to Krishna, run towards Krishna. run towards Krishna. You know, so just see it as like a special blessing. And also that it's burning up our past bad karma. Because actually, why are we suffering in the first place? What's the cause of suffering? Did you know suffering has a cause?
It's
Yeah, of
to
course.
help to purify us to some extent
Yeah, that's the purpose of it, but what's the cause of it?
for our previous karma.
Yeah, previous bad karma.
Desire as
Which
well.
was whose bad karma? My bad karma. You know, I'm suffering not because of your bad karma, but because of my bad karma. You know, and there's no exception to that. There's no exception. There's no exception. And, you know, whatever it seems like the cause of our bad karma, I mean, the suffering is, it might seem like the cause is the weather, or the suffering is the weather, or the cause is because of what he's done to me or she's done to me, or whatever like that, or what this body has got, I've got cancer or something like that. You know, like a couple of years ago, I had my appendix burst, nearly killed me. But, you know, I could say, well, that's the cause of my suffering. But why that happened is because of some bad karma, you know, like that, which was my bad karma. So I should take responsibility for that, accountability for that. You know, so whatever that thing that's causing our suffering is just the instrument. It's an instrument for my own bad karma.
On the material level, spiritual level, there's no suffering. It's materially, you know, if you got a, you know,
Yeah.
body.
You're too transcendental, Gulshan. That's the problem.
But it's just a
No,
body.
devotee sees like that. Like I said, it's all Krishna's mercy. Ultimately, it's all Krishna's mercy to help us become more Krishna conscious, like that. And if a devotee is fully in Krishna conscious, he's not even aware of what's going on with his body. But that's a very elevated stage. We can't imitate that. But I mean, if you are on that stage, I mean, that's brilliant. That's brilliant. But if you are still a bit conscious of your body, but at least you can know that all these things are, you know, reactions of our past bad karma. All food for thought. But in any case, chant and be happy. Chant and be happy, because that's the real happiness. That's going to bring us out of these miseries. Chant and be happy. And remember, Gail would remember all those Friday nights we were chanting. And Gail, sometimes she would come to me afterwards, after the chanting, she was saying, oh boy, I went somewhere during that chanting, when Jayanti was chanting or whatever, I just went somewhere. I don't know where she went to, but I mean, I've experienced it myself. Sometimes you just get lifted out of the material world.
You missed the point, because she went there because of the guy with the long hair serving the dal.
You remember those times, Gail? You remember some of those times, Gail?
You know, I still think of them frequently.
Yeah.
The water running backwards, the sweeping the floor with my long plait. Of blue it was just from a toe of Krishna in the temple.
Wow.
But it maybe it was those 3 times, those 3 different, just, yeah. I'm not forgotten, don't worry.
Yeah.
No, she used to go because of that long hair. Now no more hair.
There's no hair anymore. But she's still coming to my place, and she said, when can you grow your hair? I said, never. She said, can I plant your pony now?
But that's why Gail can never leave Krishna.
No.
Gail, it's not possible for Gail to leave Krishna, because Gail's already seen Krishna through the chanting. So that's what I'm saying. Through the chanting, we get realization of Krishna. Through the chanting, very powerful process. So
I'm
Krishna's,
sorry, I have to go.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, we all have to go. It's over time.
I have to go. I have to go to my 3.
So yeah, it's lovely to be with you all. I'm feeling great pleasure and ecstasy seeing you all. It's wonderful.